episode, I speak to Patience Ogunbona about the masks that introverts wear and the effect of wearing one. We discuss the self-doubt, self-loathing and self-sabotaging of introverts. Patience explains how introverts can turn this around and how introverted entrepreneurs can become more successful. She also explains how employers can help introverted people on their teams and how introverted people can make themselves more included. Listen up to the rest of the conversation. Before we begin our conversation, here is a quick shout out to the pathologically curious. Check out the Maverick Paradox magazine. It's a digital magazine written by Mavericks for business owners and professionals. You can find the magazine at themaverickparadox.com. The magazine's aim is to provoke maverick leadership everywhere. Welcome to the Maverick Paradox podcast, where we explore what it is to be a maverick and discover effective modes of leadership. I am Judith Germain, and my mission is to propel the maverick mindset into a world where character and integrity will ultimately have a higher premium than personality and bureaucracy. So thank you for joining me on this journey. If you would like to continue with me, then please subscribe to my podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or one of the other popular podcast platforms. And today our guest is Patience Ogunbona. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you, Judith?
I'm doing all right. I'm looking forward to our call, Patience. But before we begin, who are you?
That's an interesting question. I could answer it in the professional sense, which is that I'm an aligned business strategist, a corporate and business trainer, and an inspirational speaker, a transformational coach, as well as an author. And I help introverted female professionals and entrepreneurs to overcome any self-doubt they might have about their skills and their capabilities, achieve high performance goals that they want for themselves, and establish the right mindset and business strategies so that they can go ahead and have presence in wherever they want to have that presence, as well as position themselves as an authority in their marketplace, in their place of work, to be able to increase their income, their impact, as well as profit. So that is what I would introduce myself professionally as. And I say that I'm also known as the visionary introverted woman. So that's me.
Tell me about that. Visionary introverted woman. Tell me, unpick that for me.
Well, I think for a very long time, sometimes what I do for myself is when I really want to embody something that I believe is all me, and empower myself with it, I tend to then, it's like being affirmative about it. I've always been a bigger picture person. So as somebody who does DISC, I'm what you call a high I on the DISC scale. So that means that I'm full of a lot of intuition, a lot of inspiration, and I'm more bigger picture than those who are quite detail focused. Fortunately for me, I read accounting, so I had no choice than to be conditioned to be detailed anyway. But my natural disposition is to be bigger picture, and bigger picture people are quite visionary. Look ahead, talk about visions, talk about big things, big ideas, and so that's where the word visionary comes from. The introverted side is because over the course of my life, I felt like an outsider for many years. And when I then discovered I was an introvert, I was really so excited. It went the other way. Before that, I wasn't happy. I felt like I didn't belong. I didn't fit in. I was really feeling like I had a mask on because I was trying to be all things to all people and not actually giving myself permission to be me. But when I found out what it means to be introverted, I thought this is my chance to give myself permission to really be and be who I am. So when I niched down last year to work with introverted women, I thought, who am I? that first question you asked me, right? Who am
Yeah.
I? So I then said, I'm the visionary introverted woman. And I like that. I like to say that, and it kind of feels empowering for me and just embodies what I bring and who I am.
Brilliant. That's good. Thank you. I have a question. So, what's it like to not be yourself?
I think I can explain that by telling a story of what happened to me a couple of years ago that gave me the shift. I woke up one day, and as usual, I would wake up and really have this sense of trepidation to go to work. So obviously, I worked in the corporate world for many years before now becoming an entrepreneur. So I would wake up every day and feel this sense of trepidation and not, and I always couldn't put a finger on it, but it was more of going out and not feeling in control. And so I woke up one day and I was really frustrated, and I found myself in the bathroom looking in the mirror and then just slumping down in the bathroom and then just starts crying and sobbing and saying, oh, I'm really fed up of not being myself. I'm really fed up of feeling crap about myself. And obviously, like women, when we cry, we like to look in the mirror. Is my mascara running? I made sure I was crying loud enough, thinking my husband was still at home, but he had gone. So I obviously had to clean my eyes and go to work. But I think I made up my mind then that I was going to go ahead and discover who I am. And by that, I mean, really, I felt like I had to perform in a certain way. So what I mean by that is introverts like to spend time on their own in solitude. But what then happens is people think you are antisocial. People think you are, you don't like people. And I guess the other thing is I love to be quiet and listen before I speak. So all those things were kind of then affecting me career-wise, because by the time I'm ready to speak, people have moved along with the conversation, or they kind of concluded that, okay, Patience doesn't have anything to say, so they don't actually even invite you to give your own opinion. And so I felt like I had to, one big mask that I felt I wore then was that of positivity. Being positive despite everything. Oh, I'm fine. Things are okay, whereas things were not fine. So on going to work, I decided to find a way. And when an opportunity came for training in terms of confidence, the whole idea that you fake it till you make it and you don't feel confident. You really feel crap inside, but you're trying to look confident. And to me, I feel like when you do that, it actually shows, because it's like the ostrich who's burying the head in the sand and thinking, oh, nobody see me yet. Oh, your bum is out. You know what I mean? And so everybody can see it in the way that, you're trying so hard. So that's for me what it meant to wear a mask. And over time, when I actually went on, so I asked and I was offered the opportunity to go on a confidence training. And that was the first thing when I said to the trainer, I said, I'm really struggling because I don't think people like me, and I'm trying my best. And she then said to me, she said, what are you going to do about it? And I thought, really, I thought you were the coach here to give me all the answers and make sure that I'm fine. But she didn't. So she said to me, if it's going to be, it's up to you, Patience. And I thought, really, the truth about it is what I'd been doing, I was so self-loathing about who I am and the way that I do things and how I think, because being a deep thinker, sometimes I would say things when I was a child and people go, huh? Don't say that, you're a child, because I would challenge people's conversation. I would come at a different angle. And my parents sometimes were embarrassed because they would say, children don't talk around here. That was the way they shut me up. They say, children don't talk where adults are talking, because I would say something or I would ask something and it would be like, it will just stump everybody. So I got used to not wanting to say things. So that idea that if it's going to be, it's up to me, meant that I had to actually start being myself. For a long time, I wasn't myself. I wasn't sharing my opinions. I was holding back. I was restrained. And that's what it felt like. But I was exhibiting that because they said sometimes what happens is you have this thing going on underneath and you have other symptoms. I was exhibiting that by having headaches every day. So
Okay.
that's basically it. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. I think that's really interesting because I was just thinking that as a child, you was encouraged not to say stuff, whereas like Mavericks, when they're young, they're encouraged to say something. So I wonder whether, so like the Mavericks is like, you know, would have come up with the things that you were saying, and if it stumped the parent or the adult there would have, with the Mavericks tend to be, well, just go and find out. Go and do your research then, as opposed to saying, oh, I'm embarrassed now because you've done more. It's like, well done. I don't know the answer. Go look it up.
I think it depends on the culture you grew up.
Yeah.
And the environment and the enlightenment. So my daughter is what you would call a maverick because she challenges everything. And and her grandfather used to say to her, don't give me the legal, don't give me the law book. Thank you. Kind of thing. But I being a person who grew up differently and knowing different and being more aware, empower and enable her to have a voice and enable her to challenge in the way that she does because she's exactly like me when I was growing up. So I allow her to have opinions, allow her to say things the way she sees them in a different way and have those conversations, not being afraid that she knows better than me or she's going to be right, those kind of things. But it's the environment you grow up, the people around, and the culture as well. So
I can agree with that. Tell me, how does an introverted entrepreneur become successful?
By finding alignment in a world that maybe they feel misaligned in. So my program is known as the Aligned Business Blueprint for Introverted Female Entrepreneurs for a reason. Because I think what happens is sometimes a lot of introverted women, especially, would kind of, downgrade their own abilities, and because of shrinking into the background and things, feel like it doesn't count, it doesn't matter, it doesn't resonate. And the way they want to do things is not the way things are being done. However, you can find the courage. So for me, it's by finding alignment with who you are, by finding what works, by finding where you shine. When you operate from a place of strength, you are able to shine no matter whether you're introverted or extroverted. So rather than just focus just on your personality, it's nice to say, because there are different types of introverts, isn't it? Because now we have people like Elon Musk. People say he's introverted. We have Richard Branson, they're introverted. That hasn't stopped them. We have even Warren Buffett and even Bill Gates. All the people at the top there, all the richest men in the world, are known to be introverts. So it's not about your personality. It's about, if there are things, of course, there are things about introverts that hold them back. So, for example, shrinking back instead of wanting to be in the limelight can be an issue, but you can be adaptable when you need to be in the limelight. When you have, what happens with many introverts is when they have a mission and a message and they're passionate about it, then they can find ways to come out and really share that. So being able to identify what's that your passion, what's that your message, what's your strength that you can develop and stand head and shoulders and build an authority and build expertise and come out and find ways to come out. So some people don't have to be on screen. You can be a writer and still do great. I'm currently doing a summit, and yesterday I brought in people who talked about how you could write your life story and how you could make that story count for others. So there are different ways that you can take who you are and find ways to adapt in the world to be able to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. So I hope I answered that question for you.
You
If there's
did.
any other question, yeah.
So it's about aligning what you want to achieve with the environment that you're in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so it's aligning to your own strengths, what works for you, and finding ways of adapting in the environment that you find yourself. So by that I mean, if the pressure is too much, so alignment is more like, think about it. If a tire is either too pumped, it will burst, isn't it? And if it is less pumped, it will not function properly. So for the car or the vehicle to be aligned, all tires have to be at a certain amount of pressure. And we all know that introverts struggle with people overwhelm. So you got to identify what is too much for you. When you deliver service, how do you deliver service in a way that preserves your energy, that brings your energy out? That's just one example of how you can align to who you are.
Okay, thank you for that. So do you find that introverts spend a lot of time apologizing?
Yeah, sometimes. I agree. that is something that was common in my life. I recognized that I used to say sorry a lot and didn't know why. So what I would say is, when it comes to introverts, extroverts, or even personalities, sometimes what amplifies some of the things that don't work for you is environment. If you are brought up in an empowering, enabling environment, then it helps with preventing you from going down some certain routes. I didn't feel that I was brought up in an environment where I could feel courageous and confident. So that did not help alongside the introversion. But in terms of apologizing, it's about when you feel like you've had enough of people and you need to disappear. And sometimes people disappear for long periods. You feel like you have to apologize to people for not being social. You have to apologize to people for not being the life and soul of the party. And you feel in yourself that because you are not that bright spark amongst people, that means that people won't like you, for example. And so I think there is that happens. But also the fact that introverts take their time to think through before they talk. And by the time they're ready to talk, maybe, like I said, things have moved on and they haven't been able to have a voice in there. It's more like when things are now going on, you find yourself apologizing. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't contribute to the conversation. I didn't contribute to the project. So in my experience, that happens a lot. And whether it's verbal or even based on lack of self-esteem or the shrinking back, I think there is that element of, whether verbally or just apologizing for being who you are, being quiet, being reserved, being a bit withdrawn.
Okay, thank you. So for the audience, is there any tips for people to get past that?
I believe that, again, for me, it boils down to knowing yourself. Whatever your personality is, know yourself. Know the areas where you self-sabotage, and know what is going on in your mind at the time that you feel that you need to be apologizing for who you are. By bringing consciousness to your behaviors, by bringing consciousness to what triggers you, you are able to actually be more, and having a willingness and intention to actually address those things that you feel are triggering you. That would make a difference. For example, if you feel that, I was thinking about it today when I was moving around doing some work. If you feel that you're going to miss out on having conversations in a meeting, you can actually find out what's the agenda in the meeting. And if listening is going to be what's going to happen in that, if there's a lot of conversations going to happen in that meeting and you feel that you have to listen more, finding out the agenda before you sit down and you actually decide which topics do you want to contribute to. Are you going to send that even to the meeting person before the chair of the meeting, before the meeting, so they already have your opinion somewhere? Or are you going to have your opinion already so that you have it at hand and you can readily listen, but you also have a point of contribution where you know you can come in and contribute? That's just one example of ways that you can manage to make yourself included included within things that are happening around you. And I think for me, the main key thing is know yourself, know how you sabotage yourself, work on those self-sabotaging behaviors, and ask yourself, why do I need to do this? Because sometimes we all need to pay a price, whether you are introverted or extroverted. If the world is a certain way and you need to, for the main time, just find a way to be a chameleon that changes its color to adapt to that space, then you build up the skills that are needed to adapt to that space. And so, and also find, the key thing for me is find where your strength is appreciated, where you know that you can build authority in an area of strength, and that and where you are operating under strength, the law of least effort applies on your behalf. So you don't make as much effort as you would if you were not applying your strengths. So that for me is just some key ways that an introvert can find to be able to adapt in the real world.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. I think that's almost a good place to stop. I've got one more question for you before we call it to a close. How do you think employers can help introverted people on their teams?
Well, I think the first thing is actually a good employer should help people who are in positions of authority to develop leadership skills. There's no doubt that if you do that, that's the first thing. The second thing is recognize the diversity in your teams, in your business. And especially if you have intentionally gone out to have a mixed team with mixed talents, to achieve more, because as we well know, that the more you have different skills, different capabilities in a team, the more you can achieve and bring ideas together. Once you recognize that, then how do you help each person to perform at their optimal best? So whether they are introverts, whether they are extroverts, creating an enabling and empowering work environment, what we call a growth environment for them. So again, that means considering even things that people didn't used to consider. So before I found out that things like light are part of being introverted, too much light affects me, too much sound affects me. So open plan offices can be a nightmare for focus and concentration for me. I cannot stand it. So when you think about that, how do you find the balance? The simple thing is, some offices have open plan, but they also have cubicles. People who can't walk in the open space will take some time out to go and walk, and try not to book meetings during lunch break, because you have killed the introvert in a sense, because they need to go and recharge. I used to need my lunch break. If I didn't take it, I was cranky. And that's because I did work as an auditor, which means I spoke to many people and had lots of meetings. So my lunch break, I always try to take it. I would go out, have some fresh air, be quiet, not talk to anybody, just be with myself and recharge. Then I come back. And that's valuable, very valuable for my performance at work. So try not to put meetings for break time, even for well-being for everybody. You encourage the extroverts to go out and take fresh air and be by themselves for 5 minutes. Do that as well. So I think those are just some of the key ways that you need to be aware that you have a diverse group of people. And how do you create an empowering growth environment for each person to thrive and deliver the best? Because once people talk about performance, like you have to make people do things. Once you create environment for people, once you show people their strengths, you don't have to get them to perform, because people like it's like a plant. If you put it in a conducive soil, you don't have to go say to it, you must make sure you grow every day. What's it going to do? It's just going to grow, right? It's just going to grow because the nutrients are there, the soil is right, everything is right. But human beings don't think in the same way, that if the environment is wrong for you, you cannot grow, you cannot perform. So it's the same thing.
Brilliant. That's a great place to end. Thank you so much. Patience, would you come back again if I asked you to?
Oh, yes, most definitely. I enjoyed our time together. Thank you for the difficult questions.
Oh, sorry.
But they were nice to get me thinking, because I'm a thinking introvert as well. So I love to think.
Brilliant.
So thank you very much for that. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you once again for tuning in to the Maverick Paradox podcast. I hope you have enjoyed listening to my conversation with Patience as much as I enjoyed having it. At the Maverick Paradox, we improve your impact and influence by enabling you to effectively strategize, innovate, and execute. To find out more, contact us at judith@maverickparadox.com. Thank you.
KLDR Online, Leadership Development Radio.
Hi, this is Judith Germain. Join me on the Maverick Paradox. This is my show where we will discuss maverick leadership in all its guises with experts in their own fields. Have you ever wondered where you can find maverick leadership and what it is? Well, join me on the Maverick Paradox on your leadership development station, KLDR.
Check out the Maverick Paradox with Judith Germain starting the week of September 6th, only on KLDR Online, Leadership Development Radio.
Are you interested in maverick leadership but unsure how to apply it? We can help. Judith Germain has collaborated with David Chislett to produce a 12-part video series on maverick leadership and how to apply it to your creative thinking skills. This will truly get you thinking and putting into action your ability to innovate and execute, truly changing your outcomes. Check out the show notes for the link or contact us on judith@maverickparadox.com for more information. If you are pathologically curious and would love to find out more about the Maverick Paradox, then please subscribe to this podcast on one of the popular podcast platforms. Alternatively, you could explore our resources on Mavericks at maverickparadox.com or read the Maverick Paradox magazine. We publish frequently each week. If you subscribe, you will get our monthly newsletter. And let's not forget my book, The Maverick Paradox, The Secret Power Behind Successful Leaders. For those that love a good discussion, you could apply to join our exclusive Facebook group. Finally, if you would like to work with us or are interested in the Maverick at work, check out maverickparadox.co.uk.